Hey everyone, Michelle Markey with Medina Domestic Art Studio, and I am going to start a new series. It is going to be about paints, specifically fabric paints. Now, I may end up addressing paints that can be used on fabric, such as acrylic, and others that I may run across in this series. But what I really want to focus on is specific fabric paints that I use and how I actually make some of my fabric paints. And so that's what this first video is going to be about. Let me introduce to you what I've got here on the table. The very first thing, and the thing I'm going to focus on today, is paints that I make with Inktense pencils. And you might be able to see right up here, these are all Inktense pencil blocks. They're full color. You just have to color directly with them, or what we're going to do today is scrape off a bit of color and create our own. What you see over here, kind of off to the side, is the mini collection of fabric paints that I create myself. Now, the basis for everything I do is my fabric medium. All you need to know is that that's what I use, both the plain and pearlescent, to make my paints. And there are recipes for the fabric medium out there. I have in the past used a derivative of my fabric medium to create paints. I will address that in a later video. But today, I want to show you the simplest and the easiest way, in my opinion, for you to make your own paint. And the jars right off the bat I get from Temu. I can get them on Amazon. This particular size is right at about 3/4 of an ounce. Since I never know how much I'm going to need in a project, I always like to make probably more than I should, which is why I have so many bits and pieces of paint floating all over the house from previous projects. So this is very easy. Oh, one thing I want to mention today, this paint that I'm making is hopefully going to be silver, a glittery silver. I am currently working on a project that is a trio of sewing related blocks, and they have sewing machines in them. And of course, on the sewing machines, there's metal, and I want to make sure that the metal is painted with something silver, and that it glitters or gleams so that you can tell that it's a silver paint. And silver, by the way, is actually one of the very hardest things to do. So this is actually the very first time I've done it. Now, I grabbed this block, and this is 2110, which I believe is Payne's gray or neutral gray. Not quite sure, but I'm going to bring this down here just a bit. If you can see right here, these are all the various different grays that are in the box. Now, some of them are missing. This set is almost 10 years old. No telling where they've gone to. I may have used them up. But I'm kind of looking. There's this one that now looks kind of bluish, and then there's this one. So I'm thinking this one is Payne's gray, and the one I really want is the neutral gray, which I believe is this one right here. Now, typically what I do is I do keep a color chart. I think I've done this in other videos. I don't have my grays. I don't use a whole lot of gray, to be frank with you. I use charcoal gray a lot, but this set, you can see I haven't hardly touched them. So let me show you how we do this first. So I'm going to find a corner, and I'm going to make sure that I've kind of got it in the bottle. And I'm grabbing an old kitchen knife, and I'm just going to, actually, maybe I'll just kind of plant it here on the edge, and I'm going to start scraping color. Now, you really need to get this. I already have put it on the whiteboard underneath there. So what you really need to do, maybe it's better if I hold the knife still, and then there we go. Kind of like using a saw blade and going back and forth with it. A lot more of the color is going into the bottle than is going out on the table. By the way, if you get crumbs of Inktense block or pencil in your work area, My suggestion is vacuum them up, blow them away, but do not wipe or use anything to wipe them, as they will make streaks, and depending on your surface, you could actually ruin your surface. Okay, so I don't know that you can see this, but let me just kind of hold it up on the side. I've barely covered the bottom down there with the particles. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab my fabric medium, and I'm going to pour this maybe about a third. Well, I thought I was going to pour. My fabric medium caps tend to clog up, so I'm almost always having to pour direct. So let's see if I can do this without spilling. So I'm just, yep, there we go. Putting it about that much in. And here's the trick with this. These caps, they've got the PET seals on them, which is why I like to use them. But you're gonna want to try to shake. Okay, you can see me shaking. But once the Inktense gets wet, it pretty much is going to kind of stick to the bottom of that bottle. So this is what I end up doing. I have a shaker, and I may have done this in a couple of other videos, and I'll probably put it on the shaker. But the real thing I want to do first is let this sit for about 10 to 20 minutes so that it melts that Inktense pencil down there. If I were doing with this water, that would be instantaneous. It does take a bit longer with fabric medium. So I'm going to just leave that there right now, and we'll come back. Now, you can probably already see it's taking on kind of a light gray color. Now, to get the more silvery look I have in my hot little hand here, pearlescent white, but what I'm really looking for is super sparkle. So let me pause the video. I'll come back with the super sparkle. That will also give us time to let this actually melt, and then I'll show you how to go forth and create a glittery silver paint. Okay, back. Now, what I've got here, and let me turn this around so I can actually operate this while on camera. Push the Inktense out of the way. I'm leaving this out just in case I need to get some more, and I did end up finding the super sparkle, which we'll mix in later. Now, that's not to say that you couldn't mix in the pearlescent. This just won't be quite as sparkly as this. But these both are made by Jacquard, and hopefully you can take a screenshot. As I make these videos, I try to put the information in the description below, but if you go to my main page, to the main description about Medina Domestic Arts, I have a complete list of all the suppliers who I buy from and the types of products that they sell. So we'll hang on to these for just a minute while I get this shook up. And I'm going to do this on film. This, by the way, is a fingernail polish mixer. And these are invaluable tools. I'm going to turn it upside down first, and I'm just going to get it kind of shook up. Now, you can't see this, but the jar is shaking so much that the little bit of fabric medium that is down there is actually reaching the top. Now, yes, I have my finger on top of this because these things have been known to fly out of the little handle that you put it in. So do be aware of this. Now, you can buy this on Amazon. I'll try to find this. It's been 2 years since I purchased this, but if I can find a similar one or the same one, I'll put it in the link below in the description. So I'm going to shut this off for just a minute. That's pretty darn good. That has given me a very nice, look at that. That's gorgeous. I have to say, I don't get this lucky, particularly on my first shot. Now, there is still a bit of the Inktense down here, so I'm going to continue to shake this for just a little while longer. And again, I'm putting my finger on it. Actually, I think this time I'll flip it over. Now, why did I turn it upside down to begin with? because it's the only way gravity is going to work in your favor. Now, if I'm going to do it this way, and we'll just get this started while I talk, I don't get as good of mixture as when I turn it upside down. By the way, these things do like to walk, so I kind of have to use both hands in operating it. And I'm only going to just do this for a few seconds to see if we can get that last remaining bit pretty well shook up and blended. So let me now turn this off, and let's look at the bottom. Oh, a little bit more. All right, I'll turn it upside down again, and we'll do it one more time. I'm at about 50% speed. I've done them at full speed. You don't want to do that. This thing goes way too fast for these small little bottles. So do yourself a favor, keep it between the blue and the red line, which is really yellow, and don't go much more than beyond this. Okay, I'm going to shut this off now. Oh, look at that. Great. We now have a beautiful kind of a dark silver gray. The pearlescent fabric medium has done a great job. I don't know if you can see this, but it has already got a beautiful sheen to it. But I want to put this on a lot of area, and I'm just going to open this up so that you can see, you know, there's not but about 20% of this jar is full. So what I'm going to do now is open up my Super Sparkle and try to do this again without spilling. I do have little funnels, but I'm too lazy to go get it. So I'm just going to kind of tip this over very gently and let the Super Sparkle spill in about that much. Now, how much is that? Oh, looking inside, maybe a 1/2 to 3/4 of a teaspoon. Not a lot. You don't need a lot with this stuff. This stuff is very, very, very concentrated. And I'm not embarrassed about showing you that I do scrape every little bit off and put it in the jar. So now let us bring back our little mixer. I'm going to turn this upside down again, and let's get this all mixed up. Now these little mixers have a 2-minute limit on them. So I could sit here for 2 minutes while this shakes up. And most of the time when I'm making my paint, I let it go for 2 minutes. But for the sake of this video, I'm hopefully trying to keep it somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 seconds, just enough to get everything mixed up. Let's call that good. And let's see what we've got here. Okay, so let me open up again. You can see on the cap, that's not bad. It's a light gray. I think what I'm going to do at this point in time is no more Super Sparkle. I will put in a bit more fabric medium. Now you're going to ask me for a recipe. And this is what I tell people. This is like you making your mother's favorite recipe that you've memorized. I put a little bit of this here and a little bit, and I'm literally showing you how I make stuff. If and when I get more formalized, I'll be happy to keep track of the amounts, but I think the only place that I'm ever going to really keep track of what I'm doing is with these YouTube videos. I'm sorry, but at this point in time, I am so maxed out with my time that it's just tough for me to get everything else done, including doing recipes for paint. But I am showing you how to do it as per some requests lately. All right, now I am going to leave it right side up, and I'll flip this back on again. that is a beautiful silver. Like I am shocked that I got it this good the first go around. I really am, y'all. That's fantastic. So I will give this a test. In fact, let me see if I can find just something. Well, we'll just grab this piece of paper right here. And again, I'm showing you guys exactly how I do things. You would think I'd be a little bit more organized than this. Let me just see if I have fabric in my teaching box. Nope. So it's gonna have to be on paper, but it'll look basically the same. So I do this, just dip, and that's a pretty darn nice silver. Let me see if I can pull this up. I'll dip directly into the silver again, put another dab there, maybe a second dab. So that's a very nice light silver. And that's going to go on a pair of scissors, some thimbles, and again, the sewing machine parts. So that's it in a nutshell. Now what I've got right here, and it's hard to see, but it's about, I'm going to guess, about a ½ ounce. Now something like this container, I could, if I'm just painting bits and pieces, this could go for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 blocks. If I'm painting a large area, such as the sewing machine itself, I'm probably going to tell you, you would need to make this much to paint an entire sewing machine on a 12 by 12 or a 16 by 16 inch block. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. And please stay tuned. I will be having more videos about paints, and first on which ones to use, how to make them, and then I'll start doing more techniques with using paints. Thank you.